Well, like I said, first video's up. But yeah, here we are. Here we are. So what is it I want to talk about? I think I'm not gonna really try to spend too much time on catching people up on the basics of it all. Because I think if you're gonna be watching or looking for these videos, you probably already understand the Pokemon market's in a boom. I think things I'm gonna focus on are like directions I want to move, and I mean it's interesting because it changes from day to day. I'm really looking at this from a long term perspective, like to be honest. But the idea is I'm gonna hold for another 10 years. Um, but that doesn't mean that I'm not paying attention to potential small gains, and that's what I've kind of been focusing on. Like right now, my big plays, or not my big plays, but things I'm investing in. I was able to pick up Evolving Skies at 1300 booster box. I've actually been picking up the Sword and Shield Charizard UPCs. They're about 300 right now. I bought them, or I bought three or four back when they were 90. And I mean that's just one of those things, right? Like it's just like if you've been in the hobby for a while, you know that you're not gonna lose out on a Charizard stapled product, especially if it's something like a ultra premium collection. Right now, we haven't seen a lot of those, but like you do see those products oftentimes go up. Even things that people have kind of shelled off, like Champion's Path, that's coming up now. So yeah, so I did pick up two more. I didn't do them at a great price. Here's the thing. I'm always going to be honest with you guys. I picked them up at 300, and that's the thing. I do believe this product's going to go higher. I think this product sits around 500, and I mean that makes more sense to me. Now, obviously, the Sword and Shield era packs and collector pieces need to go up in order to raise this, but I do think the Charizard promos are gonna go up over time. So I think that's gonna carry a big weight of it. What else? I'm honestly moving off of Prismatic. I do think these reprints are gonna bring down the price. I'm not really moving out of my position, but I'm trying to trade what I do have. I have probably 50, 50 plus booster bundles, a couple ETBs, the mystery boxes, UPC, and a few other things. But I'm trying to get away from. I need to get rid of the mystery boxes, and here's where I battle. I do want to have a spot in Prismatic because I do think it's going to be a fun set to open in the future, especially with how hard it is to hit in that set. But I do think right now they are going to print it to the ground. And here's the thing I think a lot of people don't really think about when it comes to like Pokemon, right? And I don't even see a lot of other streamers talk about this. So I think it's something to talk about. When we as collectors look at Pokemon, we think about, especially people that have been in this for some time, you always say like, oh, how do I improve my side of things, right? Like I've been there through a boom, right? The 2021, 2020 boom, right? And then I've also been there through a crash, right? So like immediately we go in and assess, okay, we're in a boom right now, right? Well, how am I changing up my game so I don't have to deal with that crash the same way I had to deal with it in 2021 or 20, So I think people are like, oh, well, now I've got it all figured out. All this stuff's going to go to MSRP or below. And I just don't see that happening because I think Pokemon is in the same mindset, right? I think Pokemon is thinking the same thing. And I think Pokemon's approach is, we did have a stale market for a while. So how do we improve on that, right? They definitely had a meeting about this. And I think what they came up with wasn't necessarily to limit product. I think a lot of people are like, oh, they're going to limit product. They're not going to print as much this time. Or, they're going to print it to the ground, right? Like, so it's a polarizing topic for sure. And you'll see a lot of the other investors kind of battling it out. There's a lot of rivalries that go on. It's honestly fun to watch, but I think the honest answer, if I had to put myself in the Pokemon shoes, I would be saying, how do we keep the demand there? And I think the way you do that, is you print a better product. And I think that's what they're doing. I think you look at some of these sets, right? We're getting let's see, we got Surging Sparks, and Surging Sparks was definitely overhyped. I'm not sitting here saying that the hype met the demand, because it's not, it does remind me a lot of Vivid Voltage in a lot of ways, but it's way better. I mean, there's really no debate about that. It has a lot of following up cards, Latios, Latias. There's a lot of other stuff, melodic, that all kind of come out in that set too. But it wasn't a bad set, right? In my opinion, a lot of people may disagree. But then right after that, you get Prismatic. Prismatic was a banger. If you're gonna pick a set, it reminds you of, everybody's gonna say Evolving Skies. But also Evolving Skies has been out for some time now, and you're coming up on the what was it, 2000? When did it come out? 2021, I want to say. Evolving Skies. Let's see. I just want to check myself. Evolving Skies release date. Yeah, August 27, 2021. But yeah, so another banger, right? And then you get right after that Journey Together, right? So I understand Journey Together, not great. A lot of people weren't hyped about it, but it sold really well. And then right after that, you're getting Destined Rivals. We're gonna have Black and White, and then we're gonna have Megas right after that. So these following sets are really strong. They already announced the Charizard, so a lot of people are going to be going after that. And then you have 30th coming up, so we can assume that there's going to be a good product behind that. Pokemon has, in my opinion, changed their entire card game in the sense that they didn't want to stop supply. They didn't want to kill demand. They didn't want to kill the secondary market either. But I think they are going to print until people don't want to buy, because that doesn't make any sense. If you're a business and people have a demand for it, even if you can make, dollars on the dollar, right? It doesn't have to be hundreds of dollars on the dollar, but if you're still making money, why would you stop? Okay. So I think Pokemon's main goal here is to print a better product. And I don't think that's what a lot of people have been talking about, but I think they are doing it. And I also think another side goal is to not crash the market. And I think there's going to be a healthy balance that they need to find out. But if there's any company that could do it, I think Pokemon is the company to do it, because they've been in this game for a long time. You look at other card games, and they've hit these roadblocks, and I think they've all learned. But I think Pokemon has had the most time to learn, has gone through the most cycles, and I think that's something to consider. Do I think a lot of these cards are going to go down to MSRP? Honestly, I don't think so. I think there's certain ones that you're going to see, but I think a lot of them are going to remain above MSRP for a good amount of time. But I think there's a goal to get there. I think Pokemon sets MSRP as their baseline to try and reach that. I'm trying to think of a pack or an era where it just never went to MSRP. I feel like every product, for the most part, has at some point, toggled with MSRP, right? Even after a crash is kind of what I'm saying. Maybe Evolving Skies is pretty hyped the whole way through, but I mean, you can still get it. I try to get a lot of it, and I mean, this is when I was kind of just buying when I could buy, at like Pokemon Center or something like that. I think I did like 100 packs, singles. I always had a hard time finding product in stores because I lived in a big city, San Antonio, and it was just always tough. I mean, there's a lot of people that would just clear everything out, and if you're not in the know, you're not in the know, and these guys knew. But my point is, I think there's a healthy balance that Pokemon is coming to terms with, and I think it's going to really show in this cycle. And if they can do it right, I think it's going to last longer. Now, I do think it is going to come down. I think it will come down a lot. And I think you're going to see prices dramatically drop, especially after these reprints. But yeah, I think it's going to be a healthier decline, if that makes sense. I don't think it's going to be such a hard drop where people are selling things off in massive waves. Now, there are going to be people doing that just from all the other cycles, and I think there's a lot of people that are preparing for that. And I wish I was in a spot to be doing that, but I have been buying a lot at MSRP, and my bags don't run that deep. Okay, but I don't know. I think my thing is, I think the theme of this video would be, just like everybody else is working on improving their game, I think Pokemon is too. And I think that's something we need to consider. But yeah, I think the product is much better, especially these days. And I think that's going to lead for a much longer bull run. I don't necessarily think we're done. I could definitely see, certain signs of it slowing down, but I still think there's room. I'm not making massive plays right now, I'll be honest. And one of these videos, I'll get all my stuff out and show you guys what I have, so you guys know my stance in it. But I think, yeah, I think there's still room. I mean, like we mentioned a few things, the Charizard UPCs, stuff from Sword and Shield. Now, a lot of the Sword and Shield, I think, has ran its course. I think it's up there now. I don't think there's a lot of maneuverability to pick stuff up and see big profits in a short amount of time. But I think there are spots. Honestly, it was my most recent pickup. I think my most recent pickup was XY Evolutions booster box and the Blastoise ETB. Those are two of my more recent pickups. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. This is our first video. We're gonna do a lot more of these. I'm gonna try to do maybe 2 a day. So I don't want to spend too much time on this one. But yeah, I think it's important to consider that everybody's trying to improve. Not only us as investors, but Pokemon as well. And I think they have a lot of people to please. You have and this is going to be interesting because you have the people that play the game, which is a smaller percentage than the people that just collect, invest, and yeah, it's interesting. And I think us as investors in the hobby, I think we look at ourselves as a majority. A lot of times, like it especially feels like that when you hop into Pokemon Center queue, and the line is 1 million people. You're like, man, even though a lot of it's bots, majority, right? Like when there's that many people, you have to assume it's a majority, of the hobby, right? But we're a small amount, and yeah, so it's something to consider. I think we are definitely considered in the mindset of Pokemon, right? Like moving forward. I don't think Pokemon ever intends to, kill the market, because it doesn't benefit them in any way, right? If you kill the market right now, you're not going to have your shelves cleared out in 2 minutes for the next set. So why would you do that? I think there's a healthy balance they're going for, where it's, more or less going to come in waves, right? Because you want your again, everybody's been talking about it lately, but you want your true collectors to be happy, right? You don't want them going anywhere, right? Because they've been collecting for all these years. But if you lose those to a new hobby, there's only so many places your money can go. So I don't think Pokemon wants to lose those fans. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. First video in the books. Thanks for watching. Later.